Hi, friends. My top picks for autumn eyeshadow palettes. I kept it at 5 because I wanted to use each palette and show a look. My eyelids could only take so much removing and applying, thus why I kept it at 5, because my goodness, I can make an argument for several palettes in my collection in terms of autumn vibes. But I feel these picks truly resonated with me in terms of autumn color palette, mood, vibe, feels, and I tried to pick kind of different elements of autumn, right? Typically we think of the mustard, yellow, orange, those rusty colors, right? I think autumn embodies different elements as well. The golds, the antique, olive tone. So I wanted to further explore what autumn meant to me. And when I use these palettes, they definitely encourage the sweater, the boot wearing, the wool, just, those materials, that color palette. I think these palettes fully embodied. So why don't I start off with the first pick? Now, Melt Cosmetics and I have a history. Although I have several of their palettes, I don't have their latest or even the one before. My goodness, which one? I forgot the name of it. I truly think, however, that Rust embodies full autumn vibes. And here is the final look using Rust. My goodness, when it comes to having the mustard, marigolds, the mahogany, rich red brown tones, you can't go wrong with this palette. In terms of quality, I do think Rust is one of their best, consistent with the matte formula and the metallic. The metallic formula is where Melt can kind of fumble a lot. But when it comes to these 3 metallics in Rust, I think they are consistently smooth. They have great adherence, but I do appreciate the shades, especially this red bronze, this coppery browns tone you can wear all over the lid, and to pair it with this marigold. I love the marigold here because it adds such lovely vibrancy, but it still is muted. It's soft, but has that nice color addition right to the look. You could tap it on the outer edges of your deeper or medium shade if you wanted to go with the warmer browns and what have you. Rubbish is just your deliciously covered mustard, right? I adore that shade, and I just appreciate Rust's versatility, right? Even if you weren't going for the autumn look, I think Rust just provides beautiful daily friendly looks ranging from easy smoke to super deep glamour smoke, but with these like dark brown mahogany shades that add such lovely character to the eyes without it just being dark brown, right? Like, I love black coffee, but having a brown that edges on red, ooh, it just has like this earthiness to it. But when you got the mustards and the marigolds at the same time, my goodness, it just creates such a lovely gradient on the eyes. But in terms of autumn vibes, I think Rust, my goodness, one of my top picks. When I think of autumn, Rust is on the list. Next one that I believe I filmed a video with, I argued that this was Natasha Denona's greatest palette. And I still stand by that statement. No other than Metropolis. Now you might be thinking, Alicia, what about Yucca? I think Yucca is sensational, has all the autumn vibes with the khaki colors in there and the greens, and for sure. Metropolis for me though, when I see this color palette, I feel it expands on the autumn trajectory, the inspiration. Although Natasha pulled from Art Deco and the industrial era, you can't go wrong with the antique tones in here, and that's what I associate with autumn. The antique tones, the fact that you still have the, I say avocado shade, the khaki greenish shades, the teals and everything. This is a part of the autumn. I understand that the leaves are changing, so they are no longer green, but you still have blue skies. You might have a body of water amidst the brown copper gold leaves, okay? The elements I feel that still exist in the autumn color palette, not traditionally known as recognized as autumn, right? With the yellows, the golds, and the oranges. These shades still, for me, just scream the season of autumn. First of all, you got so many shades in here, okay? The versatility, unmatched. You have plenty of mattes, metallics, more shimmer shades, more of the duochromes in here. You can mix and match in where you want it to stay in that orange realm or more in that khaki realm. But when you bring them together, I think that's when you're truly embracing the autumn feel of things, right? Because autumn is different for everyone on the globe. Nature is just wonderful in its ways, how these colors and textures occur. And I feel that is beautifully captured in Metropolis. And again, I know Natasha didn't go out creating an autumn inspired palette. Yes, I understand the era from which she pulled inspiration from. I still associate this with autumn. I do. And I keep reaching for this palette because, again, number of shadows in here, the different textures. Listen, okay, this desaturated olive, just all over the lid, you're done. I guess it's more like a brownish olive, which I love, right? Because if you're not too sure of the green thing, you most certainly can get away with that shade. Or you could go more copper, right? Or you could go more of the neutral brown route. I would say that's more of like a gold brown. But then you get the blues and the teals. On the look, I completely just committed to the greens, right? And I did that on purpose because these greens are more desaturated olive khaki, which I feel still plays a role in the autumn palette. And I know it might feel too vibrant for some. I still think it appropriate for the season. And especially because you have so many of these antique bronzy hues in here, it grounds more of the vibrant-ish moments in here. Because yes, this might appear more vibrant than this, but I still feel this not like so in your face. And you can be strategic with where you place a color like the turquoise. Lower inner lash line, or maybe you go for it and go all over the lid. Or maybe you just don't use that color. But I had to place Metropolis on this list. I chose it over Yucca because, again, the range of shades. The range of shades and just the spectrum. The spectrum that Metropolis presents is outstanding. And when I use the different shades in here and the looks that come out, my goodness, autumn vibes all the way. Now this will be quite a surprise, a blast from the past. And I do think its most recent counterpart, maybe like last year and a half ago, is a far better formula all around. I still needed to give it to ABH's Subculture. Subculture for me is giving me school uniform vibes all the way. Like all these colors exist on my high school autumn winter skirt. Okay, so every time I open this palette, I do feel nostalgic. I do feel these shades just scream the autumn season, especially because I feel these are the colors that dominate, autumn fashion when it comes to the burgundies, the maroons, the taupes, the mustards and the marigolds. It all exists here. I do recognize the limitations. Subculture only got this one bronze metallic adorn, and then you have these duochromy moments here, and everything else is matte. But that's what I love, because the mattes in here, man, although a little tricky, okay, I like to tap. I don't like to swirl and twirl with the ABH mattes, especially from Subculture. I think they fare better with the tap and fluff. That will ensure the matte actually adheres to the lid, where you can create nice gradients. I do feel you gotta limit how many shades you combine. Truly just commit to one or two at a time. Fully embrace what that can give you. For instance, Mercury here, a lovely taupe shade. So you could go in with Mercury first, okay? And then choose one other medium shade. I would probably stick to either the teal or the dirty olive, or even this dark brownish plum, right? You could tap that on the outer lid, my goodness, or even just use that for a smoky liner, but hold yourself at that. Don't start adding 3 different mattes on the outer corner, because that's when it starts to get muddy and a little out of hand. I think if you approach Subculture with a little bit, conserve your enthusiasm a little bit in terms of color cocktailing, you'll be all right. Just honor the formula as it stands. This formula fares with, I feel, a dense shader. This is Sonia G's Jumbo Blender. Yes, use this brush to tap through the crease and then use the edge of the brush to fluff out that blend, then tap in the medium to deeper shades, right, to create that gradient. I think that's your best bet. And I understand if you wanted another metallic in here. I get it. Maybe dip out and just use Subculture for the mattes. Dip out and find yourself another metallic shade. Maybe go into Metropolis. There are plenty. Oh my gosh. Subculture, Metropolis. What a lovely combination. Just grab some of those metallics and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. But I had to include it on the autumn list because every time you see this, doesn't it again just scream schoolgirl uniform skirt? It does for me, because again, these were the colors that are on my skirt, and I can't think of any other season except autumn when I see Subculture, so on the list it goes. I forgot about this palette. How did I find it? Well, when I was cleaning out my makeup, reorganizing, I fell upon Marc Jacobs Flamboyant. This, for me, when I opened this little guy, I was like, why have I not used this in such a long time? I use the midnight shade. Well, let me get the correct name. Eleganza and Extravaganza, the more khaki olive toned matte. I wanted to go with like that silvery midnight because I just think it's fun. And Flamboyant for me, I mean, all these shades are so autumn, like autumn winter, if you could argue that. Easy to use. You got 2 mattes in here and the rest are metallics. You got 5 metallics. And the fact that you got the bronze, but you also got that silvery midnight shade, that like silver blue slate matte here. I know it might not be traditional autumn, but man, you can't go wrong with that color. And here you have the more brown tone bronze. And of course, gotta go in with this burgundy metallic. Lovely, beautiful on the entire lid. Fluff out the edges, and that is your eye. That is your statement eye. And sure, you only have 2 mattes in here, but you can use the brown neutral matte to lightly blend out the edges of any of the metallics here, and it'll be totally fine. Just make sure you use a fluffy brush. Don't overwhelm the edges with product. Only use a little bit to create a soft gradient just to finish the blend, right? And still have any of these metallic shades as your standout moment on the lid. You'll be totally fine. The simplicity, the size. I could just take this along and be fine. If I needed to just use this for the entire month of October, fine. Because maybe I'll just use this shade as a smoky lash line, and then I'll go in with either the champagne or more gold tone metallic on the lid. Fine. All over the lid, all over the lid, all over the lid. Or I could do the, the halo eye. I mean, so many options just from 7 shades. I had to count them, like 7. Yes. And of course, the leopard print just screams the autumn season. Well, I could associate leopard print with summer. I think, leopard print could be worn at any time. But the colors and the pattern, for some reason, I find that I wear more often during autumn, but that's just me. So having this palette in the print and the colors enclosed had to be on the list. And lastly, can you guess what I have on my eyes? This was the final look I created for my autumn palette picks, and it had to be no other than Isamaya Frenzzz Industrial palette. This was the first palette release, Industrial 2.0, released I believe last month or a month and a half ago. This is like autumn from the runway. I have the copper here on the lid and I place this color on the outer lid. You have two like moussey types of shades in here, the navy and the black, to intensify the duochromes in the palette. But ever since using Industrial 2.0, which I absolutely adore, I'm having an absolute blast blending in metallics and whatnot through my crease. I think it is a fun time, and my goodness, it just kind of opens up more gates, more possibilities. You don't have to use a metallic through your crease. Why would you? Why would you? If you have these beautiful shades, all right, that you could just use one, call it a day. I could go in with this shade, with that shade, with that shade, with that shade. Fluff it through the crease lightly. I use my jumbo blender for this look. I just lightly flicked it to shape it, right? And the texture naturally delivers that soft gradient, that soft focus effect, where you could go in with the matte, you could. You're like, Alicia, I don't buy that. I'm using a matte regardless. I understand you, friend. The thing is, I do think if you have the correct tools and you give yourself the time to practice, more possibilities. Why wouldn't you want more choice from your eyeshadow palette? And with that said, the way you could just layer these different textures on the eyes, and they have like this beautiful shine and sparkle and reflectivity, but still giving you the autumn. If you wanted more shine, I could place this like overlay shade over the copper, right? My goodness, my fingers are so dirty from the swatching. I could just place this more neutral shade over everything, and that's going to bump up the shine and reflectivity. You could use the duochrome here. I think this is, where is it? What is this color's name? Fetish? Cuprum, I don't know. This shade here, I applied on the lower inner corner because I just wanted that like zesty touch to the eye. But my goodness, all these shades just scream autumn. They scream autumn, and you can combine them in any which way, and it's gonna be fine. I know they're all metallics. You might be a little intimidated. You're like seeing this, and I don't think this is available anymore. A lot of these palettes aren't available anymore, but the whole point for that reason is when I filmed my last Get Ready With Me, is my lash off? Is when I filmed my last Get Ready With Me, I was speaking about the fact that I'm trying to buy less and embrace what I already have. And I wanted to pull out these palettes on purpose, ones that are no longer available, but still give me joy. I think Subculture is fantastic despite the hoopla it started online. You know, that was the day and age where it was popular to find fault in any makeup product and create drama about it, because that created traction and views and clicks. It was exhausting. Sure, Subculture maybe wasn't the best formula. It was powdery. I still feel it has a place. That's why I've kept it. That's why I have not thrown it away. Despite how old it is, it was an iconic moment in beauty social media, and I think it's because of that color story. I could care less about the formula. I've adjusted, I've adapted to the formula. I learned how it is best applied on me. I make it work, and I still adore it. Same thing with the Isamaya palette. There were critiques about the formula, whatever. I think the formula is fine. I found a way to work with it for my eyes and how I like to apply shadow. I definitely changed my technique when it comes to Isamaya shadows, because again, ever since using Industrial 2.0 and just fully embracing applying metallics through my crease, again, that just made it so much fun to layer not only 1 or 2 or 3, but maybe 4 or 5 colors, because you can get away with that with metallic finishes and overlay finishes, not so much with the mattes. I think you got to limit yourself with how many mattes you can layer on each other before it gets all muddy and crazy on the outer lid. But with metallics though, you could like color block and cocktail in a way I feel that won't look heavy on the eyes, and especially with Isamaya's formula, despite its shortcomings where some of the colors, sure, got a little hard pan. This got a little hard pan. You know what I did? I wiggled the brush back and forth. That's how you get the pickup. Wiggle it back and forth. Get the shadow on the brush. Don't be like this and expect shadow to be on your lid. Okay? You gotta learn how to work with the product. This color here, it got a little hard pan. That's okay. I use my finger. You don't want to use your finger? Get a sponge tip applicator. There are plenty. Food A Beauty has the sponge tip applicators on longer handles, or you pick one up from any of the many compacts that have a sponge tip applicator and just get it on the lid. Just get it on the lid. When you have the majority of the color on there, maybe you'll use a flat shader just to refine the edges. It doesn't have to be full color payoff, but just enough to finish the application. That's all you gotta do. And I don't mind that because look what the end result gives. So those are my picks, and I just felt the need to film this video because I painted my nails last night, and I'm ready for the autumn season. I'm ready for it. I'm done with the pastels for a while. I'm done with there are some magnetic nail polishes that are giving me autumn vibes 100%, but the olive and the dark purple, I love. My goodness. This is from Mooncat, by the way. Fave. So when I did my nails last night, I was thinking, I should really do like autumn inspired eyeshadow palettes as well. And yes, I could have shared a lot more, but I just wanted to share the looks at the same time instead of me babbling on and on and on without any context. And sure, I could have shown me applying the shadows, but I wanted the editing to be faster, but still show you the final look just as a taste of what these palettes can offer. It was a lot of fun doing, but my eyelids are done for the day. Shop's closed. Let me know, fam, what your favorite autumn inspired palettes are from your collection. Maybe there are a few from this list, maybe others I haven't even thought of. I'll see you down there, fam. And until then, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I will see you on here again with another review tutorial, eyeshadow palette extravaganza, or maybe top 5 blushes, cream or powder. Let me know. Take care, and I will see you again soon.